Hello and welcome to the Halloween special of Some Dude Shed. We basically had a go at writing some scary stories.
Spooky
Um,
stories.
Well, hold on.
So-
Spooky and thought-provoking stories.
yes, spooky and thought-provoking stories. Well, tales, you would say. Anyway,
Ramblings.
so I am Mr. Grey and I'm joined by Mr. Red
Hello.
and Mr. Black.
Good evening.
Yes. So basically, let's get started. So who's going to start? I guess it's me, wasn't it?
I believe so, Mr. Graham. You
Oh.
were so excited to tell us your story that you had to go first.
I'm excited too.
Oh goodness, this story. I don't know. It's kind of silly, but okay.
No, I'm expecting professional writing here.
So I took the Halloween theme, and I thought, well, what could be very Halloweeny, and I thought, well, pumpkins are quite Halloween themed, and what eats pumpkins? I think it's rabbits. So I went for a rabbit story.
Just want to point out these are original stories as well.
Oh yeah, these are 100% original stories, written by ourselves. So they're probably not going to be that high on quality, but we hope you enjoy them anyway. So my story is about a rabbit, and let's get started. Marjorie casually made her way back from the pumpkin patch after a wonderful afternoon meal. Pumpkins were really tasty, but also massive. She ate until she was fit to burst. As she hopped, she felt her swollen stomach from the food bouncing around. It was good that her burrow wasn't far away, and she could just hop along slowly and take in the beauty of the countryside. She heard some beautiful singing coming from a nearby tree. She knew that voice. It was Jeremy, the sparrow. "Good afternoon, Jeremy," said Marjorie. "Oh," said Jeremy, who was interrupted from his singing. "Don't you mean good evening? It's getting late. You should be getting home." "But it's such a beautiful sunset," said Marjorie, looking over the landscape and how the sun made every hill glow a slightly different shade of green. "I thought I would just slow down and take it all in." "It has been a splendid day," said Jeremy. "I suppose Farmer Douglas was nowhere to be seen." "He was nowhere to be seen," said Marjorie. "You should go down there and eat some. They're really big. There's plenty to go around." "I may just do that," said Jeremy. "You have a safe night now." "You too," said Marjorie, and she turned and hopped a few meters and into her burrow. All right, now this is where things get a little bit anachronistic, guys.
These are all rabbits, yeah.
Well, not Jeremy. No, he's a sparrow. He's a bird.
It's like Watership Down or something.
Basically. But yeah, well, I'll say anachronistic. You'll see. The front door to her burrow was unlocked. Not that she needed to lock it. The local community was close knit, and she knew the other rabbits and other critters in the area. She even knew of Keith, the fox. He lived around here, but didn't hunt in the area. Maybe this was his way of keeping the peace. Foxes, after all, can't be trusted. She turned to close the door and caught a glimpse of a strange bunny staring back at her. It was a grey rabbit with what looked like a white head. She didn't think anything of it, so she just closed the door and went to go and sit down in the living room. She put on the TV, and it was time for Neighbours, a popular soap opera starring a cast of horses. The current plotline was about a camel that had been introduced to the farm, and he wasn't getting along well with the other horses because of his more traditional cultural outlook. Sadly, Marjorie would miss most of this installment as she dozed off after the first few minutes. It's hard to stay awake after a big meal at the pumpkin patch. All she wanted to do was sleep. Marjorie was woken up by a loud banging at the door. She glanced at the TV. Neighbours was long over. Dove Island was on, meaning it was getting close to bedtime. Dove Island was a show where pretty birds with little personality get together and do not very much. It was a boring show, and Marjorie wasn't a fan. She went to open the door, and no one was there. She stepped out of the burrow and had a look around. There was no one to be seen. She headed back inside and sat back down to see what else was on. She was flicking through the TV channels when she felt something on her shoulder. She looked down to see what it was, and she saw a small, grey, furry paw. As soon as she saw it, it quickly closed up around her neck, followed by another paw on the other side. She managed to struggle free from the couch with the tight grip still on her neck. The grip was so strong, it felt like it was going to crush her throat. She tried to kick backwards with her powerful legs, but it was no use.
Let's take a very dark turn.
She was then yanked to one side and thrown across the room. She could still breathe and checked her neck for any damage as she picked herself up off the floor. She had a look at the strangler. It was the grey rabbit she caught sight of earlier. It was a big male rabbit with all grey fur and a white mask over his head. See, I told you it was Halloween themed. Who are you? Shouted Marjorie. What do you want? But the other rabbit didn't say anything. He just began to slowly hop over to Marjorie. Marjorie turned around and leapt into the bedroom, where she immediately slammed the door behind her. She sat against the door, hoping and praying that the other rabbit wasn't strong enough to move it. The door handle shook, and she could feel the other rabbit trying to push it open. Then it stopped. Maybe it was over. Maybe he would give up and go away. But he didn't. Only a few seconds had passed, and she could hear the loud scratch of the walls of the burrow. And again, another big scratching noise. He was trying to dig through the walls. He was digging with both front paws. She could hear it. It was only a matter of time until he made it into the room. But then it stopped. "Marjorie, Marjorie," came a call from outside the burrow. It was Jeremy. "Don't come in," shouted Marjorie. "Go and get help." "I heard the commotion," said Jeremy. "Thought I should come and take a look and see if everything was okay." She could hear Jeremy's voice getting closer as he approached. "No, go away," she shouted through the door. Jeremy either ignored her or didn't hear her clearly through the door, because the next thing he said sounded very close. "Good evening, sir. Are you new to the area?" he asked the strange rabbit. The rabbit didn't reply, but there was a bang and a crash and a cry for help from the sparrow, and then there was silence. There was enough time for Marjorie to gather her senses and come to terms with what had just happened outside. Jeremy, her friend, had just been murdered. When the unmistakable sound of the other rabbit trying to dig through a wall started again, Marjorie had to do something. She couldn't just stay here. She couldn't just wait for the rabbit in the white mask to break through and kill her too. She could open the door and run for the exit. The other rabbit was big and surely wouldn't be fast enough to catch her. She put her paw on the door handle and braced herself, remembering the layout of the room and the fastest way past everything so she wouldn't stumble. And she went for it. She burst open the door, ran right past the grey rabbit. She nearly threw up when she slipped on the bloody and feathery remains of Jeremy the sparrow. But she kept her footing and bolted through the door. Brilliant, she thought. And now to find somewhere safe. She ran outside and spotted a fox walking across the grass. As she got closer, she could see it was Keith. They say that you can never trust a fox, but maybe if she told him there was a much bigger rabbit, maybe he would help. She ran towards the fox, and he couldn't believe his eyes. He wasn't used to being chased down by a rabbit. "Is that you, Keith?" asked Marjorie, just to be sure she got the right fox. "Who wants to know?" asked the fox. "It's me, Marjorie. We met at the book club," she said. "Oh yeah," said Keith. "We were covering Harry Trotter and the Chamber of Cutlets." It was part of a book series about a pig who found out he was a wizard and had to deal with an evil butcher. You okay there, Mr. Gray?
He's taking a drink.
Harry, what?
It was the book was called Harry Trotter and the Chamber of Cutlets.
Wow.
It was a book series about a pig who found out he was a wizard and had to deal with an evil butcher. It was an engaging read. "Yes, that's right," said Marjorie.
Sorry, go from that sentence again.
There's water all over my face.
"Is that you, Keith?" asked Marjorie, just to be sure she got the right fox. "Who wants to know?" asked the fox. "It's me, Marjorie. We met at the book club." "Oh yeah, we were covering Harry Trotter and the Chamber of Cutlets. It was part of a book series about a pig who found out he was a wizard and had to deal with an evil butcher. It was an engaging read." "Yes, that's right," said Marjorie, trying to skip the pleasantries as quickly as she could. "But I need your help right now. There's an evil rabbit in my burrow and he's trying to kill me. He's killed Jeremy. He's pure evil." "Another rabbit is trying to kill you?" asked Keith, eyebrows raised in disbelief. Marjorie caught sight of the white mask looking out of her burrow. "There he is. If you kill him, we can eat him. If you kill him, you can eat him," she said, trying to convince the fox to help her out. "Well, I've already had my fill at the chicken coop earlier today, but sure, I'll take care of him for you," said Keith, who walked towards the burrow. He headed inside. Then there was nothing, no sound at all. Things were either going very well or very badly. Marjorie waited for a few minutes. An agonizing wait. Someone emerged from the burrow, but it wasn't Keith. It was the grey rabbit. He had killed Keith and was pulling his dismembered head behind him. Marjorie didn't need to think twice. She just ran as fast as she could. There was only one who could help now. She ran to the pumpkin patch that she had visited earlier in the day. This pumpkin patch just happened to be on the edge of a much larger farm. And she was in luck. Farmer Douglas was out at his tractor. She looked back and could see the other rabbit gaining on her, even though he wasn't running at all. She made her way around the pumpkins to a place in the path of the tractor, and she hid behind one of the pumpkins so she couldn't be seen by the human. The other rabbit kept on hopping towards her with murderous intent, but seemingly oblivious to the human activity nearby. Then it happened. The rabbit got caught in the headlights of the tractor. The tractor soon stopped, and she could hear the farmer saying something along the lines of, "Bloody rabbits." And soon enough, the farmer had his gun and let off a massive bang. And the grey rabbit was hit. From what she could see, he'd stopped moving. He looked dead, but she dare not move to check in case he was also spotted by the farmer. She waited until the farmer was gone, and she went to check the body. It was cold, like a corpse. So she hopped home, dreading the thought of having to clean up the mess that was left in her burrow. She would never be able to forget this night. That night, a furry foot twitched, and a long ear poked up under the moonlight. An injured rabbit struggled to his feet and left the pumpkin patch. He will return. And that's it. That's my Halloween story.
That was really good.
That was very good, yeah.
Very well written.
It made me sort of wish I made all my characters animals. You know, just
Maybe-
makes it better.
Maybe you wish I wrote my story better.
Yeah.
That was very good, Mr. Gray.
Oh, thank you very much.
Oh, that was great. That was good.
So, a grey rabbit with a white mask, you say?
Yes.
Is this a
Well,
homage to anything?
Well, well, you know, it's supposed to be blue, isn't it? But you don't really get blue rabbits, so grey's the next best thing, I guess.
You don't get rabbits wearing masks either.
No, you don't. But you don't get rabbits watching TV, so it kind of works.
I picture as like he's wearing like an eggshell, like an eggshell in his face,
That would work.
like little eye holes in it, and you know. No, that was great. That was very good. Well done.
Very good.
Alrighty.
Well, Mr. Black,
Mr. Black, I hear you've got quite a tale.
Yeah, a long one. It's very, very long, so I apologize in advance. I'll just get right into it. There's water everywhere from where I choked earlier.
Oh dear.
The table's soaked. All right.
It's a shame we're in Halloween lighting mode. I can't actually see any see the mess.
I know we have our super spooky Halloween candle in the middle of the table.
yes.
Well, it's just a candle. It's not a
Just
Halloween candle.
set the scene for anybody listening.
Yep.
All
All right.
Do we need an intro, or do you just want to jump right in?
I'll just get into it because it's long enough. So I didn't actually really settle on a title. It's still in my, I have it saved in Google Docs. It's still called Untitled Horror Story. But the top of it here, it actually just, in the story itself, I just wrote The Journal of Dr. Adam Grimshaw. So I suppose that's the name of the story.
This is like a mad science thing, I guess.
It's a sciencey thing.
Okay.
All right, so here we go. The Journal of Dr. Adam Grimshaw. The following specified journal entries are authored by Dr. Adam Grimshaw. They detail the sequence of events within his employer, Metis Labs, and his personal accounts of which follows regarding December 18th, 2021, 8:30 a.m. Today is the big day. That's right, launch day. It's about time, but I'm glad Mission Control has given the green light for blast off later this morning. They're making a big hullabaloo about this new rocket, but I, for one, am more excited for our new eye in the sky, the James Webb Telescope. Aye, she's a thing of beauty, 100 times more powerful than the Hubble. The veil of space and time will be lifted even further for us curious creatures. Our neighbours across the cosmos will be illuminated to an ever greater degree. To the layman, think of it as a guy who's nearly blind getting laser eye surgery. Anyway, off to get some pre-launch coffee. 2 p.m. Happy days. Launch went off without a hitch. Some signs of inclement weather ahead, but thankfully it missed the launch pad. The only thing to do now is sit and wait for the cargo to deploy and send us initial test images. In 6 months. Oh well. Plenty to get on with until then. I'm now off to get some post-launch cake. A rocket cake, shaped like a rocket. February 20th, 2022. 9 a.m. I got word that the director of Metis Labs, Dr. George Hackey, has to take leave for health reasons. Rumours are circulating that it's cancer, but it's purely speculation. He's been looking more rough around the edges lately. He's not an easygoing, stress-free man by any stretch, but it was clear that something was taking a toll on him. We've been monitoring the journey of the telescope. It entered into orbit 1.5 million kilometers behind Earth at Lagrange Point 2. Right on schedule. Sun shield successfully deployed. Second trajectory maneuver complete. Telescope deployment, instrument activation, and final insertion into L2 complete. Note to self: retrieve my calculator from Steve in the neutrino lab and don't lend him stuff again. 4:30 p.m. I got chatting with Steve. Retrieved my calculator, and in the process, we agreed to have lunch together. He started filling me in on more of the gossip floating around the office. In the absence of the director, the deputy director has stepped in to run operations. Dr. Alistair Vidal. That guy gives me the creeps. He looks like an alien wearing a human skin suit. It's his mannerisms, the way he talks using weird oldie style lingo, and the dead cold stare he has really gives me the willies. April 18th, 2022, 9:30 a.m. Telescope is well on its way to bringing us those highly anticipated snaps of our cosmic neighborhood. Initial optical alignment tests are looking good. Object lock and tracking is nominal. We will proceed with mirror alignment, which will take a few months. Patience is truly a virtue in this field. 11:45 a.m. I'm saddened by the recent news, as are the rest of the staff in the facility. Dr. Foster from East Wing Labs Radio Observatory was found dead in his office. Suicide. I wasn't overly friendly with the guy. We exchanged a few words every now and then, but that was it. Steve was more familiar with him as well as his colleagues in the department. Word is he had been struggling with depression, even had to take leave a few times to get back on his feet. I never would have guessed. He presented himself as a happy guy, but like I said, I didn't know him well at all. 3 p.m. I'm shocked. I caught up with Steve at lunch. He was chatting with some of the folks from the East Wing, along with Dr. Foster's secretary, Evelyn. She was a mess. In fact, she had been given a few days' leave to get over the shock of what she saw. Evelyn was packing up a few things from her desk when Steve got talking with her. The following he told me was in confidence. He made me swear not to repeat what he was about to tell me. I agreed. Evelyn has told him that Dr. Foster was actually suffering from depression, but also bouts of severe psychotic episodes, which he had to manage with medication. He handled his symptoms well for the most part, but the times when he took leave was because he required medical intervention for his psychosis. He would have audio and visual hallucinations, which would include hearing voices in the audio signals received by the radio telescope. Evelyn saw his car in the parking lot this morning, which was unusual as she always arrived earlier than him. She walked into Dr. Foster's office and saw him hunched over his desk. The room was lit by a dozen candles, some of which were burnt out. There was blood everywhere, all over the floor, walls, even the ceiling. Amongst the smears of blood were symbols, also drawn in blood. On the wall behind him was a large whiteboard. In blood the sentence, "We know nothing," was written. When she approached Dr. Foster's body, she saw that he was covered in lacerations, self-inflicted using the large letter opener on his table. She looked at the large symbol drawn on his desk. In the center of the symbol was a face. His face. He had used the letter opener, flayed off his face, then placed it perfectly in the center of the symbol. He had deep lacerations in his wrists, and his neck was cut deep from ear to ear, all self-inflicted. That was when he bled out and died. As soon as medical services removed the body and the cleanup crew did their thing, the deputy director, Dr. Alistair, told the secretary to take leave and he locked the office door. She is expected to go down to the police station to make a statement, but she told Steve that she didn't know what to tell him. She had seen Dr. Foster's journal open on the table. It had scribblings across all the pages that became increasingly nonsensical with each page turn. Ramblings consist of, "We are only ants. It is coming. The great is approaching. We shall be enlightened. Finally we will see." I was left speechless after Steve told me all this. I didn't want to believe it. A few days leave to get over the shock, more like a lifetime. June 13th, 2022, 11:50 a.m. We have received the first images from the telescope, finally. The level of detail and clarity is astonishing. Finally, we are able to see even further than we have before. We have shared initial images with the general public last week, and they are being well received. What a time to be alive. We will focus on tracking objects deeper into the cosmos to really test what this observatory is capable of. Very exciting times indeed. We should receive some new images in a few weeks. There hasn't been word on director Dr. Hackey for a few months now. People are speculating that he has actually passed away from his illness. I told Steve that can't be true, as surely there'd be some sort of staff announcement. However, Steve reckons they want to keep it on the DL because if news got out he died, stocks would plummet. He loves his conspiracies, but given the nature of how much we rely on private contracts on top of government grants, I wouldn't be all that surprised. Here's hoping traffic isn't too bad getting home. There have been isolated small-scale riots in the inner cities disrupting traffic. Damn hippies.
Always a problem.
I know, bloody hippie. June 29th, 2022, 7:20 p.m. What a day. I arrived at the office a little later than usual this morning. The mood was tense among the staff. Word is that the latest batch of images aren't clear for public release due to an anomaly. I examined the images myself after I finished running the diagnostic checklist on the observatory. Looks odd. I've seen similar looking images and illustrations. It looks similar to Boots Void, aka the Great Nothing. A patch in space where there are barely any galaxies or stars. The difference with this particular void is that it is pitch black, barely a flicker of anything, except for the very center, which has a bright object, like a galaxy, brighter than anything we've ever witnessed in the universe prior to now. On top of this, the void strings out in many different directions with long, thin, tentacle-looking arms stretching out into surrounding space. This anomaly is huge. In fact, huge doesn't even begin to suggest the sheer scale of this thing. Boots Void is 33 million light years in diameter. This is nearly 5 billion by our initial estimates. We are continuing to examine this further. We have been advised by the director that this is top secret until we work out what this is. Top secret? That sounds a bit overkill to me, but what do I know? I just work here. Steve was overjoyed with the discovery, but like most of us, pissed off we were unable to share it outside the facility. He also informed me Evelyn won't be returning. She took extended leave, but I'm not surprised she didn't want to come back. This place would be a constant reminder of the horror she witnessed that day. July 1st, 2022, 2 p.m. Had a terrible night's sleep last night, crazy nightmares, so I was late into the office. Did a pretty good job sneaking in because nobody noticed. No Steve today. He must have taken some time off for a long weekend. It's the summer after all. We don't have to go ahead to take new images yet, so we are waiting for the green light until then. Ran diagnostics and calibration as normal, maintaining orbital trajectory. 9:10 p.m. Holy shit, those images. They're appearing on message boards and spreading throughout the internet. They've even reached the evening news. To my knowledge, they are still top secret clearance, unless these were released officially. Someone at the office is in some deep shit. Should be some juicy drama to look forward to tomorrow morning. July 2nd, 2022, 9:30 a.m. They pulled every member of staff into the conference centre for an emergency briefing. Director Alistair was present, along with some other suits and some heavy security. These weren't our security guys. They looked like Secret Service or CIA. Dudes with black suits, dark shades, and earpieces. You're free to go for a piss or a drink, including an interlude in this long ass story. Alright.
I'll be alright, Mr. Black. I think I'm okay.
I'm grand.
The following transcript is from the emergency staff briefing held by Director Dr. Alistair Vidal on the morning of July 2nd. As I'm sure you're all aware, there has been a leak of top secret documentation from this facility. This delicate information has made its way to message boards, social media, and finally, mainstream news outlets. I will be holding a press briefing in light of this leak to put the public at ease. We have reason to believe this leak was internal, intentional, and not a data breach. We will be conducting a full and thorough internal investigation of all facilities within Metis Laboratories. Those responsible will be brought to justice and face the full force of the law at the hands of the federal justice system for violation of the Espionage Act of 1917. That is all. Dismissed. Journal entry continued. Holy shit. This was done on purpose, but why? Why would someone jeopardize our entire operation? I tried to call Steve from the break room, but his phone was engaged. I'll not disturb him on his holiday. I'm sure he'll catch wind of the news soon enough. As I was getting ready to leave, colleagues flooded into the break room and put the news on the TV. It was the director. He rambled on a bit, but the main gist of his spiel was the photos weren't a leak and they were actually greenlit and scheduled for public release today. The anomaly in the photo isn't confirmed, but we are 99% certain it is just a calibration issue with the mirrors of the telescope, and to expect more teething problems as the observatory is in its early days of its long and prosperous service to space exploration. Well, thanks for throwing my department under the bus, Alistair. 9:30 p.m. It took me 3 hours to get home. Those bloody riots are getting worse. Speculation on the news says it's economic hardship. Another station says political tension, and another proposes the emergence of a new cult, riling up their congregation to fight the oppressive powers that be who threaten the coming of the Dark Age. Very entertaining at first, but I got so late I swung by Burger King on the way home as I couldn't be arsed to cook something.
That's fair. I've been in that situation.
There you go. There's my crossover. Technically, it's now a Burger King fan fiction.
I suppose so.
I was doing some more browsing after watching the news, who seemed more docile in their reporting of the anomaly. The message boards were rife with different conspiracies ranging from Big Bang 2.0 to space squids. It was all fairly amusing. I'm going to bed early in anticipation for a thorough probing from the higher-ups tomorrow. Their investigation is well underway and they're slowly making their way around the staff. 9:50 a.m. Shit. It was Steve. He called me from a withheld number just as I was dozing off. He sounded borderline incoherent. His voice trembling. He seemed on the edge of sobbing uncontrollably. I asked him where he was, but he refused to tell me. I asked him if he knew about the leak.
And?
Lost my place.
Oh no.
The following is a partial transcript of the call. I did it. I had to. They lied to us, Adam. They know exactly what it is. That thing. Listen to me, Adam. I can't talk long. They are tracing this call, but just know that I had to do it. They kept us in the dark. This anomaly, it's not a void. It's... Alistair knows everything. You think all of this civil unrest is a coincidence? Mankind's collective sanity is tainted. It's being corrupted as we speak by a cosmic force greater than anything we could even begin to understand. Look to the sky. You see it too, don't you? Please, go outside and just look. I don't have long left. Those voices Dr. Foster heard before he killed himself, I hear them. They tell me...
Oh, that's annoying. Probably call him again.
Yeah, I'd call back. It's pretty important.
I'm sorry, you cut off there.
Well, he's on O2, I think so.
Right, probably out of credit then.
The call dropped. I frantically tried to reach him again, but the line was engaged. What the fuck? He sounds like he's lost his mind. Do I report this? Are they really tracing our calls? 1 a.m. Try as I might, I just can't sleep. That phone call rattled endlessly around my head. I found myself drawing patterns between him and Dr. Foster. Clearly I'm overthinking. I don't know, I'm tired and I'm stressed. I can't think straight. I worry I'm hearing things too. Long past family members calling my name, shadowy silhouettes in dark corners of the room. I'm fine, I'm just freaking out. I'll sit outside and have a smoke. That'll help. 1:20 a.m. Steve, I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. I can't begin to describe what I saw. As I was sitting there on the porch, I looked into the distance. It's elevated, so I can see all the way across towards the city. There were rising flames from the riots, smoke plumes that went for miles. If I listened closely, I could hear shouting, screaming, even chanting. What the hell is going on? It feels like everything is falling apart. Then I looked up. Words can't describe. My heart skipped a beat, then went into overdrive. I could have passed out in that instant. The sky was wrong. It was dark. I mean, pitch dark. The familiar constellations were gone, with only sparse clusters peering through at the sides of this mass before vanishing, then reappearing from behind long black tendrils of darkness. This was with the exception of the center. In the very center of the empty expanse was a single star. It was brighter than anything else had any right to be in the night sky. It wasn't the moon, it was something else. It had an amber hue and was pulsed with an orange glow. It looked alive. It rested in the very center of this mass like the nucleus of a cell. Just as I was about to try emailing Steve and hope he would see it, I received a text. It read, Adam, I'm at Metis. Get here ASAP. Please hurry. 2 a.m. The following is a transcript from video footage taken from the cell phone of Dr. Adam Grimshaw. I'm making my way to Metis Laboratories to make contact with Dr. Stephen Kleiner. I've had to circle around the city to avoid the chaos. There are bodies in the streets, people running around everywhere like crazy zombies, cars overturned on satellite. There are no police or army guys around anymore. This is hell on earth. 2:45 a.m. Transcript continued. I've reached Metis Labs. This is something from a nightmare. You can see for yourself, blood everywhere, bodies littered in every corner, some with familiar faces. All these blood trails converge into one down the corridor toward Dr. Alistair's office. More bodies are suspended from the ceiling in the atrium just outside Dr. Alistair's office. This is a horror movie. I'm dreaming. This can't be real. I can hear screams in the distance. Fuck. I need to find Steve. I'm about to enter the office of Dr. Alistair. The following dialogue is from Dr. Alistair Vidal, as transcribed from video footage recorded from the cell phone of Dr. Adam Grimshaw. I'm sorry, son. This is the way things are now. This is our path to enlightenment. The old must be purged and fired to make way for the new. Blood must be spilled to pave the way to our destiny. You'll come to understand soon enough. We didn't hide this from you. You felt him. You were drawn to him. Thus you released him. Rewards us with eternal wisdom and bliss in the new dawn of our species, because your dear friend Stephen took the initiative to spread the word of his very existence. We see, he notices, he bestows, we receive, we are enlightened. Go now into the new world. Don't worry, it'll grow on you. 3 a.m. This transcript is the closing statement of Dr. Adam Grimshaw. Steve was dead. Strung up in Alistair's office, cut down the middle like a carcass in a butcher's shop. The new world, this is it. We single-handedly brought the destruction of our world. We dared to venture too far. We saw what we weren't supposed to see. The void was... We cast our gaze in wonder, unknowing the terror that awaited us is here in the skies above us, watching over us. This is Dr. Grimshaw signing off. We knew nothing. That's it.
Ooh.
Ooh.
That was very spooky and thought-provoking.
So that's so it's basically
Unlock.
like a Cthulhu sort of thing.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much. I was just like, fuck it. I like Lovecraft stuff. I'll try my hand at it.
That kind of just made me realize, like, Dead Space is essentially like a Cthulhu-style story.
It kind of is, yeah.
Because you have the marker that drives people mad and turns them into monsters, and then you have the big monster hiding on the planet, and you have the cult trying to bring it all forth.
Yeah, that's just cosmic horror. Like, all cosmic horror is pretty much like anything alien that we don't really understand. So anything that's like that, Dead Space, it falls into cosmic horror. Alien is cosmic horror, technically.
You think so?
Yeah.
Oh, cosmic
yeah.
horror was more like a super gigantic, destroy the world sort of horror. No?
With trippy colours.
Maybe you're right. To be honest, I don't really know the genre.
No, it's just pretty much like cosmic horror. It's just like space alien related, mostly just like fear of the unknown. It's like the unknown kind of horror.
It was pretty cool. I'm gonna guess there may have been a little bit of influence from Doom 3.
Yeah.
While you were writing?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Doom 3. Just sort of wanted to do like a Cthulhu kind of story, something related. And I suppose Dead Space would be in the same ballpark, like Doom 3, Dead Space, Half-Life-y,
It's general sci-fi horror.
Yeah. And Burger King.
Well, you gotta throw the endorsements out there. Just saying, we're not sponsored by Burger King, but I do enjoy a Whopper every now and then.
Oh yes, who doesn't enjoy a Whopper?
In case anybody's listening,
Yeah, well, you got to pay respects to the king, don't we? So yeah, that's it. So
Sweet.
there you go.
That's awesome. Well, I really enjoyed that story, Mr. Black.
Yes, it was very good.
Thank you. I felt it was too long.
One could say maybe it was a little bit long for a segment of a 3-part podcast, but it was good. It was really interesting. It was pretty tense all the way through.
Thank you very much.
So,
Thank you.
So moving on,
Thank you so much.
Mr. Red, your the last one.
Yes, well, I just want to say, I want to apologise to the viewers. The caliber of my story compared to the previous two is awful, but hopefully you'll get a laugh out of it.
We'll be the judge of that.
We'll see. We'll see.
Right.
All right. Well,
It was Halloween night, and John was putting out candy for the inevitable arrival of trick-or-treaters. He filled a couple of bowls with an array of sweet treats and placed them in the hands of a skeleton prop on his front porch. The skeleton had a sign around its neck reading, "Take one," so he wouldn't have to answer the door personally. Turning around to take in the spooky sights of the neighbours' houses, John seen skeletons, gravestones, giant cobwebs wrapped around bushes. The street was indeed ready for the most frightening night of the year. As John turned to head back into his home, he noticed the first trick-or-treaters of the night a few houses down. One was dressed as a ghost, which was just a bedsheet with eye holes cut out. Another was dressed as a witch, and the last was dressed as a wolfman. As John went into his house for a quiet night in, alone, to watch some scary movies, while the skeleton provided the candy, he locked his front door up with the reinforced deadbolts. John was a man who took the security of his home seriously. After locking up the front door, John went into the kitchen, got the trash bag out of the bin, and went out the back door to the alley behind the house's rear garden. John threw the trash into the industrial-sized trash bin. As John was closing the bin lid, he heard a bottle smash and a cat screech. Giving John a jolt of surprise, he spun around to see where the noise came from, but the alley was very dark. He could just about see his hands in front of him. A black cat came towards him. It was his cat Jinx. "I've been looking for you all day, Jinx. Where have you been?" John said as he picked up Jinx and headed back inside, and locked up the back door in the same manner as the front. John went into the living room and got a couple of scary movies out of his collection. Halloween and Halloween 2, his favourite scary movies. John set up the DVD player and TV in the living room, getting them ready to go. He then went and got into his dressing gown and slippers for a more comfortable attire. Finally, before he sat down, he just had to get some snacks for his movie marathon. John headed into the kitchen and made some popcorn, grabbed some candy that was left over from the candy bags. Then John decided he would also have a sandwich, so he grabbed a few slices of bread, some leftover chicken from the fridge, and diced it up with the butcher's knife from the knife block. As John was just finished making his sandwich and cut it in half, he heard a crash upstairs and thought it must have been Jinx had knocked something over. Putting the knife down and heading upstairs to look around, he called out to Jinx. The cat didn't come. John then proceeded to check each room upstairs. He didn't find anything until he went into his bedroom, where he found the window smashed and glass all over the floor. John went over to the window and looked out of it, thinking someone had thrown something through it. He looked down on the street, and there was no one there. Looking around on the floor, he found nothing. No stones, no bricks, nothing. Confused, John headed downstairs to the kitchen to get a trash bag to pick up the glass. As he got the bag from a drawer in the kitchen, he noticed something moving in the living room out of the corner of his eye. He thought it looked like a person. "Who's there?" John said, putting the trash bag on the countertop. He reached for the knife he had left on the counter earlier while keeping his eye on the door in the living room. Feeling around on the counter, he realised the knife was gone. Seeing the phone on the kitchen wall, John made a move for it to call the police. As John inched slowly towards the phone, the intruder stepped into view in the living room doorway. It was a man in a boiler suit and a mask, standing with the missing butcher knife. John shouted at him, "Get out of my house." The man stood there in silence. John shouted at him again, "Get out of my house." No response. John tried going toward the phone again. The masked man moved forward too. John stopped. The masked man stopped. John moved forward again. The masked man moved forward. John stopped again. The masked man stopped. Realizing he was cornered, John did the only thing he could think of. He screamed at the masked man, "I'm Little John, and let me introduce you to Big John," while he threw off his dressing gown and kicked off his slippers. As John charged at the masked man, he stood and tilted his head to the side inquisitively. Then, as John got closer to the masked man, realizing what was about to happen, he began to step back. As John was about to be upon him, the masked man turned to run for the door. As the man reached the door, he turned the door handle and struggled with one of the deadbolts. There was too many to open with no time, but the masked man frantically tried regardless. Before he knew it, John was upon him, slamming him against the door, with John pinning the man from behind. The masked man was looking out of the window on the door and seeing some trick-or-treaters coming up the porch of the house. The man, with pure distress, started banging on the glass trying to break it to get help. That's reinforced glass, boy. You ain't breaking it like the window upstairs, John said. John began pulling the masked man away from the door. You're a guy in a mask. That's not scary. Let me show you something that's scary, John said, while he was looking around on the floor for one of the slippers he had kicked off. As the trick-or-treaters approached the top step of the porch, they saw the masked man being pulled away from the window. Thinking he was part of the Halloween pomp, they took their candy and left. The next morning, the front door to the house opened, and the masked man came limping out, holding his backside. As the masked man struggled down the porch steps, John came to the door. Let that be a lesson to you, John said, as he held up a slipper, waving it. The masked man glanced back with a slight nod of the head as he limped off. The end.
That was a spooky and amusing tale. Yeah, it was an interesting take on the most recent Halloween movie.
Yeah. Does Michael Myers, he's scared of nothing except for Big John.
What do you mean? It was.
What?
Where was the reference to the Halloween franchise?
Well, he had a boiler suit and a mask. I just assumed.
And so does Jason Voorhees. What's your point?
He was called he was called Little John and Big John. That's in
Yes,
the
there
movie.
was a lot of homage to the new Halloween film.
Yes.
Did you not say Michael at any point? No.
No.
No, I must have just assumed it was Michael then.
Yeah, me too. To be honest, I was, that's who I was picturing.
Yeah.
This was the grey rabbit.
Maybe that's what I was looking for.
I don't know. What was implied at the end there? What actually happened to the man in the mask, who's not called Michael?
Well, he came out holding his backside, so I assume he must have got a good spanking.
Good spanking, right? He took his slipper off and
He
give
slid
him
down.
a good paddling.
Give him proper discipline,
He
like
slid
the good old days.
slid down the banister and hurt his bum in the.
Oh, that's the
bottom of
worst
it.
thing, when there's one of those things at the end of the banister.
Yeah, what do you call those things down to the banister? The banister knob or something?
I don't know the slide stopper.
Yeah.
Well, on that note,
On that note, hope everybody enjoyed our spooky and interesting tales. Spooky and thought-provoking tales. And
I was scared shitless. I don't know about you.
well, I was already shitless. I had a massive curry the other night.
okay, I'll end it there.
All right then.
Till next time.
If anyone else out there has had a massive curry recently, please let us know in the comments.
Please don't. Till next time.
Adios. Happy Halloween.